AI Mentors is brought to you by Alldus International, covering your business's staffing, consulting, and networking needs. Our podcast, AI Mentors, brings you the leading minds in AI, sharing their story, their success, and their advice. Focusing on fast-tracking you to the top, AI Mentors cuts through the hype to help you kickstart your data science career.
You're listening to AI Mentors. I'm your host, JP Valentine. Our guest today is Glenn Hofmann. Glenn is the Chief Analytics Officer for New York Life. Glenn, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Our pleasure. Glenn, can you start, just give us a little bit of background of yourself, how you got involved in technology, some of the roles you've held in the past, leading us into your current role here in NY Life?
Sure, yeah. So I've been in the field of what's now called data science and AI for some time. It was called statistics when I first got started in grad school quite a while ago. I started as a PhD in stats, picked up an MBA later on, started as a stats professor actually early in my career, and then went into business. I've worked as a hands-on data scientist for some financial companies, some other companies, some small companies, some big companies, and then eventually progressed into insurance. Did some property and casualty insurance, and then for about 3.5 years, I've been at New York Life, kind of building the data science function here at the company.
Excellent. Well, thank you for that. So you've seen the transition from statistics to data science, and you've held lots of roles along the way. Can you, first of all, tell us what you love about your job? What drew you towards this profession?
I mean, here at New York Life is a great place to be for data science. So it's a very, very data-rich environment. We have a sort of a growing team of strong data science professionals with various different skill sets, and then we have good input from senior management and good support from senior management to do this. But really the main thing that is great about being a data scientist here is that we're solving many of the problems that we have for the first time. So life insurance has we only recently started on the data science journey. So for most of the challenges that we encounter, we're building like version 1 of that model. But the impact is so much greater and so much more exciting.
Yeah, that's got to be very exciting for any of the data scientists on your team to know that there's so many big major projects yet to be solved within life insurance, and there's a lot of innovation waiting to happen in this profession, which is great. Could you talk to us a little bit about how you've managed to make data science effective in such a large organization?
Sure. It's the key is to really understand the organization and to partner within the organization. So there was there are 3 key points that I want to make there. One is sort of communication and partnership. So we support a number of different groups within the company, with data science projects, and we've really made an effort to understand their business better and to truly do joint project work. So we don't have the traditional setup that we get a problem, we go away, try to solve it, and then we come back with the solution. We have made that completely collaborative. So we make sure that for every project, we have a team of people from the business side involved, and not just involved in composing what the problem is, but involved every single week, along the journey of the project. We explain everything we do to them, and we don't move forward before everybody agrees on the step we did and the next step. So that partnership is absolutely key. The second thing is probably working on the right problems. So we pick problems. We have a sort of methodology before we decide to engage in an effort. We pick problems that have significant business value, and most people agree on that value, whether it's quantifiable or not, but people agree it has large value. Second, the partnership is there, so our business partners are engaged and they want to really do that. And third, can we deploy it? So is there a path towards deployment in a production environment for that? So that's sort of the second piece. So it was the partnership, working on the right problems, and then sort of the education of the company about data science. So, we created an education program that we call Data Science Academy. That's been a very big success, and there's several hundred people that are taking that today in the company. We organize events, lunch and learns, expositions, and all of that has sort of gotten data science more ingrained into the company as well.
I think there's a lot to be learned from that third point around the education piece, because as we all know, one of the many reasons why data science projects fail within organizations is the lack of understanding and the lack of confidence in the data. But here you guys are, one of the oldest and most established businesses in finance, taking a real positive step to make sure that the various business units understand it, so they believe in it, they trust in it, and then they'll embrace it. I think that there's a lot that can be learned from that, regardless of industry and company. That's exciting. Switching direction slightly, could you give us some insight into some of the exciting projects that you're currently working on that we may see in the near future as people who have insurance?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we have a big variety of projects that we're working on. Probably highlighting a couple that are very specific and key to life insurance. The bread and butter of life insurance is classifying mortality risk, right? We are in the business of insuring mortality, and so we need to build models that basically segment mortality risk. So for that, we have lots of medical data. We have several decades worth of data where we have the medical data on the person, and then the outcome, which would be date of death. So we're building models on large amounts of medical data predicting remaining lifetime. With the idea that this will be implemented into our underwriting process. Underwriting means that's the process of gathering data and evaluating mortality risk for life insurance. So those models will be implemented in that, and then that will automate more and more the underwriting process, which today is mostly manual for life insurance companies. So that's one big project. This involves things like survival analysis, on lots of medical expertise. We work together with doctors on this and other experts. So that's a key project. And another one, somewhat different project, is we also have essentially a sales distribution channel. So we have about 12,000 agents in the United States that sell life insurance for us every day, and we need to replenish that workforce every year. So every year we hire thousands of new agents, and we built some models to determine if we have a candidate, what's the chance of that candidate eventually being a successful agent. So it's essentially an HR recruiting model, if you want. But since we have such a large number of applicants for a similar job, being an agent, we have a lot of data to actually be able to do that. So that's interesting.
Two very interesting projects. One, looking at your core business of assessing risk, but also utilizing data science internally to have a more efficient workforce, which I think is something that all businesses can look to and utilize.
Yeah. So those are two key examples, but then of course we do a lot of marketing analytics as well, acquisition, cross-sale, retention. We also spend money on channel advertising, TV advertising and digital advertising every year. So we have projects trying to optimize and rationalize our advertising spend. There's those types of things going on. We're working together with actuaries on projects as well.
Here at Alldus, we want to make the hiring process easier for all. Whether you're an employer or an aspiring employee, we have the service for you. For full-time work, Alldus will partner with you to find the best person for the position. Using both our network and our rigorous qualification process, we ensure that only the best talent is shortlisted. We will manage the process and work with you to select our most suitable candidate for your organisation. We also offer excellent temp hiring services. At Alldus, we provide a great opportunity to help you and our candidate make the right choice. The contract period is one long interview for your full-time opening, and the extended experience with our consultant helps you make the best decision. Alldus International is here to quickly help you find the best AI candidate. Our experts stay in close contact with our consultants throughout the duration of the contract, ensuring they have everything they need to get the job done.
You mentioned earlier that leveraging data is relatively new within life assurance and including here for New York Life. It'd be interesting to get your thoughts on how you've gone about building a data science team, what an ideal team looks like, and how you've managed it, introducing data science into such an established organization.
I this is probably the third time that I'm building a data science team. So I have some learnings from my previous lives, and I think we use those and really put a good team together here at New York Life. So what I learned is that to have a successful data science team, it doesn't just take data scientists. So we have probably about 50 to 60% of the team are data scientists and data science managers. But data scientists are very good at building models and taking data and making sense of that. But if you want to have it work organizationally in a large company, we need to support data scientists with other skill sets. So we've done that. We've hired a team of data engineers that are responsible for sort of delivering data into data science projects. They interface with all the internal data teams and data stores to pull data out of there. They also process a lot of external data that we buy. So data engineers are crucial. Then we have a team of project managers, which help the data scientists make sure that we have the right meetings at the right time. We take notes. We interface with our business partners. I felt that a lot of data scientists tend to be more on the introverted side. So it's hard for them to proactively schedule lots of meetings. They have the tendency to not do that. So we support them with a team of project managers that help them and make sure those things happen and the business interactions are taking place. So that is there. Then we have a team of people that I sort of mentioned, which is sort of the community team that organizes the Data Science Academy, which is open to anybody at New York Life, no matter where they work. And we sort of package up different online courses into various tracks that we then facilitate that people can take. They take care of our data science community with expositions and seminars and various things to get the word about data science out. So that's a couple of people doing that. And then we have our own little model validation team, model governance team inside, which is important to give sort of a review on what people are building. And then we have what I would call a machine learning operations team, which is interfacing with the technology organization to provide all the infrastructure that data scientists need. So that goes from hardware or server environments to things like RStudio or the appropriate Python tools and make that process efficient so that data scientists don't have to worry about every day, whether they have a functioning computer and the right software and all of that. So.
It's actually very impressive for an industry and organization who you've said haven't been utilizing data science much up until recently. You've built an infrastructure which would rival most Silicon Valley tech companies. So it sounds like a great place to be for a data scientist based on all the things you've built. So following on from that, what tips and guidance can you give to job seekers for applying the jobs and how they can be more effective in interviewing?
Yeah, we certainly have hired and are continuing to hire a lot of data scientists, data engineers, project managers. All of those skill sets are welcome and respected here. We have a pretty good process for recruiting that has been engineered, really. We've optimized that process. For job seekers, I'd like them to get in touch with us, right? So I think being more communicative, reaching out, building a network is absolutely important, right? So we evaluate people both on their technical skills as well as their communication skills, because I always tell people here, half the job is technical, half the job is communication. So that starts with how do job seekers get in touch with us? They can send me a note on LinkedIn. They can send a note to anybody in my team on LinkedIn. That tends to be more effective than just sending a resume, because that gives us a chance to kind of communicate a little more informally up front, and we know, is this the right fit potentially, even before they come in for an interview. Also, we like to know what they've done, not just resume type information, but also have they done projects, either internships or into jobs or Kaggle competitions. We like people if they have participated in Kaggle competitions. We like to look at people's code. If they have public code they could put in on the Git, and they give us a link to that, we'll look at that. So anything they can sort of give us more information and they can communicate better, I think is great.
Some great pointers there, really good pieces of advice. I think it's important for candidates to realize that a job application is far more than just sending a resume. And you've touched on it's the GitHub account. It's how active are you in the community? Is this a passion? What personal projects? Which is great. I want to bring it back to yourself a little bit before we finish, just to get some insight into your journey along the way, in particular some of the challenges that you've overcome in your own career as advancing from statistics into now a chief analytics officer, as I think it would be a good insight for people who are earlier along this journey, so they can be aware of what's in store and tips on how to overcome.
Yeah. I mean, I find like now there are many different career paths to become a data scientist or an AI expert, I guess the way we would call that now. So my path has been back then perhaps more traditional, but not entirely. So I've had a few different transitions in my career. So the first one was perhaps from being an academic to being an industry person, which is entirely different world. And then probably going from being an individual contributor to being a manager, which is, I think, a big change. And then from having sort of increasing responsibility in management, and then eventually becoming sort of a builder and manager of a data science organization. So those were the various transitions, and I've struggled with all of those, and I'd like that I can now coach and help people on my team that struggle with the same. I'd say especially the transition from being an individual contributor to a manager is a fairly big one, and difficult one, because one has to let go of everything being done the way one wants them to be done. So it's being okay with other people doing it somewhat differently, and stepping away, and trusting that people will do it well, even if one is not there every minute. And that is a big transition. I see people on my team go through that, and I coach them along the way. We have a big emphasis on fostering people's careers, people on the team, and moving them up according to their skill and giving them more skills. So I'd like to think that sort of my own experiences help me now coach people on the team to advance in their careers.
Definitely. Final question: if you were starting all over and you were coming out of university now, what would be the trends within data science and AI that you would focus on?
Yeah, it's interesting. I think what I say will be somewhat different from what people hear in school. I think there was a lot of focus in the community, and especially in academic community, around algorithms and new algorithms, and that is important. And we do look at all the new algorithms and we use them as appropriate. But I think more important is the skill set around making data science effective and making data science create value in organizations, companies, or otherwise. And on that note, what I find exciting right now is all the development around machine learning operations. So that's essentially the bottleneck for some time has been people build good models, but good models don't necessarily make it to production to make decisions. That is a whole, that's a large process and problem that has traditionally been difficult to solve. But now there's a lot of new tools out there that make machine learning operations more feasible and more efficient than before. So we focused on that. We're building a platform here that makes it easier to version models, like not just the code, but version models with code data, parameters, the environment they're running and all of that, which is very important for governance and actually making things operational. We're trying to make the process of data scientists communicating on the same project more efficient, and most of all, the deployment of models more efficient, so that we can deploy models directly out of the code base that created the models, rather than having to translate them. And then post-implementation tracking and governance, making that more efficient. So that whole value chain of machine learning operations, I think, is key. So if I was a student today or a young data scientist, I would spend some time on that, learning to be a better coder who can write production level code, not just data science level code, and understanding the whole machine learning operations process and learning about that.
Excellent. Glenn, this has been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Get the Alldus advantage. Become a member of the Alldus community and enjoy some of the following: AI meetups. Once a month, our community gathers to listen to some of the leading experts in the world of data science and AI. Our speakers come from all over the world, including Dublin, Boston, and Frankfurt. We also have our AI mentors. Our experts will provide mentoring to Alldus members. And don't forget our AI in Action podcast. Each week we have guests from all over the world talking us through their education, career, and more. Become an Alldus member and get the Alldus advantage. For more information and to sign up for our newsletter, log on to www.alldus.com. That's www.alldus.com. Alldus International, empowering through AI.